All right, so moving on to the next segment. I think it's time for another cup, another sip. A straight, sweet victory for the Miami Heat culture. We one game away from the NBA Finals. We overcame the odds of overcoming the ESPN analytics of a 3% chance of being eliminated by the Boston Celtics. 3% chance of advancing to the NBA Finals. So let's sip to that 3%. My ass. Well, moving on. Let's talk about the top candidates for this Philadelphia 76ers job. And I'll be sharing my thoughts if James Harden will be returning to the Philadelphia 76ers next season. So, Doc Rivers obviously was fired last week after failing to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Philadelphia 76ers are still currently looking for a new NBA head coach. So these are the top candidates that I believe could be in play for the 76ers to hire. Candidate number one is Monty Williams. I still believe that it was the wrong decision for the Phoenix Suns to fire Monty Williams after not advancing to the Western Conference Finals and failing to dethrone the Denver Nuggets. But Monty Williams did a lot of great things for the Phoenix Suns. He created a winning culture, which started all the way back, that dated all the way back to the NBA bubble. Of course, teams that had a certain record or were fighting for a playoff spot, and a play-in tournament spot, were still eligible to play the final NBA regular season games in the bubble, the final 8 games in the NBA bubble. And Monty Williams helped the Phoenix Suns go 8-0 in the bubble, and they never looked back since. And then the following year, they went on to go to the NBA Finals. He created a positive winning culture in Phoenix. He won Coach of the Year. He won the Western Conference Finals in the 2021 NBA season. They were just 2 games away from winning the NBA Finals in the 2021 NBA season. But Monty Williams is one heck of a coach. He did a great job in Phoenix. He was just unfortunate. It was just very unfortunate to watch him get fired. I believe he would be a good fit for the Philadelphia 76ers. Candidate number 2, Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse was also another guy that was fired by the Toronto Raptors following their disappointing season that they had this NBA season. But Nick Nurse is no scrub. He's a good NBA head coach, and he's had success in the past. He's won Coach of the Year. And he helped the Toronto Raptors win their first NBA championship in franchise history back in the 2019 NBA season. So this is somebody that's not allergic to success. This is somebody that knows what it takes to coach a championship level team. And Nick Nurse has been to the dance before. I do believe that Nick Nurse still has a lot to offer as an NBA head coach. Nick Nurse would have to bring something different to the table, I would say, in terms of offensive system. I've seen that Nick Nurse got a little passive. Wasn't really too creative with Siakam and Fred VanVleet and other key players, Scotty Barnes, other players that the Toronto Raptors have. I do believe his offensive system became a little lackluster and lacks some flavor. He's definitely, wherever he lands next, and especially if he lands with this Philadelphia 76ers roster, he's definitely going to have to bring something differently offensively to the table and have some different offensive game plans for his players. So I do believe that he could be a good fit for the Philadelphia 76ers if he could clean up his image just a bit. And candidate number 3 is Mike Budenholzer. Was also fired from the Milwaukee Bucks after they suffered a 4-1 series loss to the Miami Heat after being gentlemen swept by the 8th seed. I need another drink to that. Another accomplishment that the Miami Heat had this NBA playoffs thus far. Chef's kiss in that cup, boy. But I think Mike Budenholzer does have a lot to offer as an NBA head coach. He helped the Milwaukee Bucks win their first NBA title in nearly 50 years, and developed a winning culture in Milwaukee ever since he got to the Milwaukee Bucks and started coaching them. And I do believe that this really would be the best option that's out there coaching wise for the Philadelphia 76ers. We've seen that he had a lot of success with one of the best players on the planet, on God's green earth, and Giannis. I do believe he can have the same success with Joel Embiid, who is an MVP in his own right now. So I do believe that's the best candidate for the Philadelphia 76ers in terms of coaching-wise to go after Mike Budenholzer. But those are my candidates for the Philadelphia 76ers job. But what will James Harden return to the Philadelphia 76ers next season? I don't believe that James Harden will be back next year for the Philadelphia 76ers. I do believe he's on his way out of Philly. He is expected to decline his $35.6 million player option with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he is expected to test NBA free agency this summer. So it's possible that James Harden does not come back. My prediction, he will not be back. But it's possible a team other than the Philadelphia 76ers this summer could pay James Harden $201.7 million on a 4-year contract. And that's pretty expensive for James Harden. That's kind of taken a dip offensively over the last few years. Definitely not the offensive juggernaut that we saw a few years back when it's Houston Rocket days. But still, if James Harden can secure a $201.7 million contract at this point in his career, he's won. But possible landing spots for James Harden if he does not re-sign with the Philadelphia 76ers. Team number one, the Houston Rockets. Let's be honest, Houston will always have a special heart to James Harden. They were the team that traded for him, that believed in him the most. And when they traded for him years back when he was a part of the OKC coming off the bench, he came there and became one of the best scorers in NBA history, one of the best regular season players in NBA history. Houston will always mean something special to James Harden. It would not shock me if he goes back there this summer. He could go back to being on the all strip club team in the Houston clubs if he goes back to the Houston Rockets. The man loves to party. But all jokes aside, he can be a leader of this young team for the Houston Rockets that has Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, and they will have the 4th overall pick in this year's NBA draft. So it wouldn't surprise me if James Harden can go back there and groom up those young talented players that they have out in Houston. I'm not ruling out a return for him back to H-Town. Another team that could go out and get James Harden this summer is the Phoenix Suns. I do believe that James Harden would be a great fit to play alongside Kevin Durant and Devin Booker with the Suns next year, and he could potentially play point guard in their new offensive system. And I do believe the reason why I could see James Harden come to Phoenix is I do believe that Chris Paul will most likely be traded this summer. So I do believe that's a great fit for him to go to the Phoenix Suns. And team number 3 is the New York Knicks, playing in the Big Apple and playing alongside Jalen Brunson and that talented New York Knicks team that could use at least one more guy that could get them over the edge. That would definitely be huge for the New York Knicks if they could land James Harden. I do believe that'd be a good tag team duo of him and Jalen Brunson in New York with that talented roster that they have right now. But those are my thoughts on James Harden, if James Harden is going to return back to Philly. And those are my potential landing spots if he decides to test NBA free agency this summer.